speaking techniques. And so with that being said, how many of you have heard of Oprah Winfrey? Okay. How many of you have heard of Martin Luther King Jr.? How many of you have heard of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, I Have a Dream? Great. Okay, like Martin Luther King Jr. and Oprah Winfrey, President Obama is also known for giving public speeches famously. However, you do not have to be famous to give a public speech. We are not famous for giving public speeches, and your teacher is not famous for giving her public speeches, and maybe your parents are not even famous for giving public speeches. Just like us, you will be giving public speeches as well. With that being said, today we're going to talk to you about how to write a speech so you can be ready to give public speeches in any situation. So we are going to talk about organizing a speech, listening actively, and asking good questions. The first thing comes with organizing a speech is picking a topic. Mrs. Anderson has already provided you with your topic, and that is over the ancient empires, right? Is that right? Okay. So I actually remember doing ancient empires when I was growing up, and that is an awesome topic. But in the future, when you have to pick your own topic, remember that you want it to be interesting just like the ancient empires. You want it to be interesting so it is interesting to you and to your classmates, and it's easy for you to give your speech. The next thing you want to do is you want to go to a library for research. You don't have to go to a library for research. You might have books or a computer at home, but this will probably be the most valuable to you. You can also do research with another person who might know your topic. That's actually maybe a really good idea because they have experience that a library cannot give you, or maybe the books cannot give you. When you do research, you also want to make sure that you have picked effective websites such as websites that end in .edu or .org rather than .net and .com. Even though the .net and .com websites can be practical, sometimes they're not as effective and up-to-date as the other two. The last thing you want to do is organize your speech into an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, as well as add transitions and supports. Zach is actually going to give you more information on the organization of your speech.
Yep, so like she said, I'm going to talk about the organization of a speech. Like a short story, a speech is comprised of an introduction, a body, and conclusion. The introduction is where you're going to get your audience acquainted with your topic and also your style of speaking. Your introduction should include an attention-grabbing statement or a hook that gets your audience sucked into what you're talking about. This could be a interesting fact, a short story, or a quote from someone famous. You will also be talking about what you're going to talk about in your speech in your introduction. Your body is where the meat of your speech is. You want to cram in facts and ideas that support your opinion and help the audience better understand what you're talking about. The body is comprised of 2 to 4 main points, and each point is broken into its own section. Each section has a topic sentence as well as some supporting statements that help the audience better understand the main point. Each main point needs to be supported by examples, and those examples can be either a short story or a definition that helps the audience better understand what you're talking about. So if you were giving a speech on ancient Egypt, you might talk about how people buried their dead and the mummification process. Transitions are used to move from one point to the next smoothly. Transition words include first, next, finally, and in conclusion. You can also use transition sentences, such as, now I'm going to tell you about blank. The conclusion is where you're going to wrap up everything that you talked about during your speech. Make sure to bring back the hook used in the beginning to really suck in the audience for what you're talking about. You also want to try and leave an impact on them so that they will continue to think about your speech even after you're done presenting it. Now here's Felicia to talk about listening.
So, how many of you have maybe been sitting through a speech, kind of like the one we're giving now, and suddenly your mind kind of starts wandering. You start thinking about what you're doing after school today, or next weekend at pool party or something. Yep. And then all of a sudden you snap back, and you realize, I have no idea what they're talking about. Hey, Zach. Yep. So, hey, Zach, what are you thinking about? What's going on outside?
I'm kind of looking out the window, and there's some guy, and he's pumping gas, I think.
Do you know what I just said?
No, what are you talking about?
Listening?
We're still presenting?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
See,
just
you know
passed
what?
it, we're done.
See, things like that can happen even when you're up here speaking. So you want to try and focus on the speech that's being given and be a good listener for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it's important to be a good listener because you want to focus on the message and make the best use of both your time and the speaker's time. If you are are zoning out and not listening to the speech, not only are you losing valuable information that the speaker could be giving you, you're wasting the speaker's time because they're talking to basically no one. If you weren't paying attention, you might as well not be here. So you want to give that level of respect, so then also when you're up here giving your speech, your classmates will give you the same respect of listening, and you'll be able to give a better presentation, because when you look out at the audience, you'll see people looking at you, which may scare you. It's not scary. It actually feels better to know that you're making a difference in telling people about something new. So what are some ways you can listen better? Well, I have a few different little tricks and things for you to do to help you listen better and make the most of both your time and the speaker's time. First of all, concentrate. Make eye contact with the speaker to show that you are paying attention and listening. Also, try to avoid distractions. Like, how many people think that the pen that Aubrey is clicking right now is extremely annoying? Exactly. You don't want to be that awkward kid clicking your pen in the back and everyone's looking around like, what's going on? Try and avoid distractions. Put all the papers or pens away in your desk or on. Thank you. Try to just keep things off your desk. Don't play with them. Again, keep your concentration on the speaker. Also, simple things like oh, hey, look I see some people already straighten up. This is good. You want to try and, even just simple things like keeping an open posture, not crossing your arms or legs. It kind of just shows that you're open to the speaker's message in a non-verbal way. I don't know if this would come up in your classroom, but in future situations, be on class on time and don't leave early before the speech is done. That's so disrespectful to be up here giving a speech and then see someone walk out the door. Hurts a little bit. So just those simple little things of respect. Another one quick point is to not judge the speaker while you're listening to it. Maybe one of your classmates will be giving a speech on ancient Egypt and you'll think, I already know everything there is to know about ancient Egypt. I'm just going to zone out now. You might learn something you didn't know before. Maybe you think you know everything about the pyramids. There might be some new fact that they have that could totally change what you've thought about it. So if you aren't listening, you're going to completely miss out on that. So that's just some simple ways to help you be a more effective listener, to show respect for your speaker and make the best use of both your time and the speaker's time. Now Jason's going to talk a little bit about how to ask good questions afterwards.
Okay. Asking questions is just as important as active listening because it shows interest to the speaker as well as respect. It also helps you to understand something that might be confused about. And also there are several things you can do to ask good questions. The first one, take notes. It's very important to take notes during your presentation, especially for very long and very complicated ones. There are some speakers allow you to ask questions during their presentations. However, there are some speeches you don't have any chance to ask questions until the end of the speech. So without taking notes, you may forget something that you were confusing about and you wanted to ask the speaker about, but you forgot. So just make sure to jot down a few key ideas and your confusing parts. This way you will be still remembering what you want to ask the speaker about in the question section. So here are several different types of questions. Questions for clarity, typically ask why or how, or paraphrase what the speaker said. A few examples include words like, I believe you mean such and such, right? Or sounds like such and such, right? If you don't understand a specific word or an idea that the speaker said, you can also ask the speaker to explain more. You can just ask, give me an example, or I would like to hear more about this. Also, if you don't understand, you don't agree with the speaker's point, you can also ask the speaker to give more evidence to prove it. Asking questions is very important because it prevents any confusion for the audience and also helps the speaker to clarify any misunderstanding that might have happened in the presentation. So by asking questions, you will help the audience, the speaker, and yourself better understand the topic of the speech. Now, Aubrey will finish up our speech.
Okay. So in conclusion, it is important to organize your speech and ask good questions. When you organize your speech, make sure you pick an effective topic as well as doing effective research. Also, organize your speech into an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, as well as effective transitions in between conclusion, and having supporting statements in your body. When you listen, make sure you're respectful to the speaker, as well as just not having anything distracting around you, such as your pen that you can be clicking. And also make sure you ask good questions. When you ask good questions, just make sure that you are doing, just that you're respectful to the speaker again, and you're also just clarifying any questions that you may have had, because chances are somebody else in the group has had that question too, or has that question. So, if you do all of these things, you will be on your way to a great public speaker, as well as enjoy listening to your classmates' speeches. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
One question I had was, you mentioned transitions first, second, and I had some eyes looking at me. We don't really use, is there other ways that you can transition effectively than saying first and then? You might share a few of those.
Yeah. If you're moving from one point to another, it helps if you try and link your points together and organize them in a nice order that kind of flows together. So if you're talking about ancient Egypt, you might talk about their way of life, and then you might talk about how the way of life was influenced by their belief in the gods. And we talk about how they built the pyramids because of the gods, or to worship the gods and their kings.
So you could use simple words like to begin with, talk about that point, and then you say, in addition, something like that, and then you have finally, or for your conclusion you can say in conclusion, or to wrap it all up, little things like that, to just kind of show that you're moving in a direction and keep your speech flowing. And any other questions? Don't be afraid.
Okay, we're going to move into our individual speeches.